welcome to another episode of Can You Connect? And I am Mr.WalkThatWalk. And today's episode, we are going to be going over me. We're going to be going over me growing up with a learning disability. And the learning disability I was diagnosed with was dyslexia. And this was in the 90s. So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in kindergarten. They caught it pretty early because I was mixing up my words and behind in what I should be learning. So due to that, they made me stay back in kindergarten. So I had to retake kindergarten, and then, they gave me resources that was, let's say, helpful for me. So now I was put with, the kids who also have learning disabilities, like maybe, the kids who are dyslexic or the kids who have ADHD. So they took me out of class for testing. They took me out of class that I could work on certain things. However, they also tried to make things a bit easier for me. So to where other kids would have to do all the problems, like they'll just ask me to do the odds or do the evens. They want to have me do everything. And I was stubborn. I was like, I'm not doing some of the problems. I'm doing all the problems. I'm doing everything. So I'm not going to stay behind. Like, no. I was like, don't treat me different. Like, yes, I do have a learning disability, but I ain't lacking behind. Like, nah, I'm keeping up. Like, I'm not going to fall behind. So I was stubborn. It was good that they caught it early, but I wasn't going to allow them to help me. So you can see how that kind of caused a bit of problems because I guess I was pretty prideful in a way. And I was smart, so it wasn't like it affected me in a horrible way. It just made things more challenging. I didn't feel like I was like a failure or anything. I had low moments, but like in elementary school, for me it wasn't. When I was in elementary school, it wasn't that bad. Basically, it was just them giving me extra time for tests. And that was helpful for me. That gave me more time. So the only issue was I stayed back in kindergarten. I had to retake kindergarten. That was the only really thing. But they caught it early because, I would mix up my E's and my 3's. Because, when people are dyslexic, we mix up words. It takes us longer to comprehend certain things. So certain things is more of a process for us. And we'll even go over like the definition of it for us. Neurological learning disability that affects language processing. It causes unexpected difficulties with accurate or fluent word recognition, spelling, and decoding. It is entirely unrelated to overall intelligence and can be managed with targeted education and interventions. So it just took longer to comprehend things for me. Like, I would have to reread it. I was like, wait a minute, what does this mean? I was like, nah. It did mess with my writing sometimes. Like, stuff would be backwards. Certain letters. The main one I can remember for me was the E and 3. Like, that would be backwards. That shouldn't be there. Middle school, it was the same. I'm still doing okay. I'm not having a bunch of issues with school. They may take me out of class for testing, or to a certain point, they'll have classes for just the ADHD and dyslexic kids, like the kids who got learning disabilities. So we at a certain point had our own classes in middle school. But in high school, I'll say high school was a bit more challenging because English and writing, you go up a level in difficulty. So that's where I started running into a bit more problems with writing papers, paragraphs, how to form my paragraph, the formation of it. That was challenging. That was hard. I didn't fail anything because I kept trying and I kept trying to work at it, But it was hard. I'm not going to lie about that. But that's a skill I kept going over. So high school, they still separated me like longer time for testing. But it was both. I was because they noticed I was decent at some stuff like math, science. So I was in a regular class for some classes because you got like 7 classes. So you could be, if you're doing okay, you could be in some regular classes with the other kids. So I was in some of those in regards to math, science, and a few other things like your electives. But English and writing and all that stuff, yeah. Took some time. And when I was younger, my family put me in programs like Hooked on Phonics, so they took time out to help me with my writing and my English to make things a bit easier for me. So, and then also there was a rehabilitation program that they kind of, made sure that the school was giving me the resources I need to be successful. So they come in and like challenge him and be like, oh, y'all doing everything you're supposed to do for him, X, Y, and Z. So I had backup. I had tools. Was I a kid that read a bunch of books as a kid? No. But for the stuff I had to read, I read it. All throughout school life, I read things because this is what I need to study for this class. So this was up until 2000, school-wise, like 2013. So up until elementary school to 2023, where I got my when I took my clinical test. So growing up, I was confident, like elementary, middle school, high school. I was pretty confident. Like a little of my confidence got hit in high school, but it wasn't too bad. Because, you worry about being able to keep up and not understanding certain things. So that's why I had to like react things and I have to really push myself to get to the bottom of what is this, or reread it so I understand it. But community college, that's where I got hit, and the rehabilitation program stayed with me through college. So they, did the test and made sure I still had dyslexia. I did, so they stayed with me, but I did fail English. I did fail it. Yep. So that was the first real hit, because in high school, my grades wasn't perfect. Like I would get A's, B's, C's. I didn't get no D's. But elementary school and middle school, I would get A's and B's, so or all A's or honor roll. But high school, it was like C's. It was wasn't super high. It wasn't D's or F's, but it could have been better. But community college is the first time I failed something. And that was like, okay, I need to really lock in. But retaking it wasn't too challenging because they taught different than the other teacher. Like the other teacher, it was like, work at the work, and like they were very precise, and they was like, yo, if you mess up on this, that's it. But when I retook it in the summer, they were chill. This was a chill professor, so I was like, oh, okay, well, this ain't gonna be too bad. And I wanted to, for your bachelor's and your master's, you gotta pick your major. So I'm picking social work, and that requires you to write. Be good with your writing. And my family was like, are you sure you want to do this? It's a bit challenging. It's different. And I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So they was, family was on board of supporting me and looking out for me. So boom. So, got my associate's degree and going for my bachelor's. My bachelor's, it was challenging. It was a lot. I probably wrote the most for my bachelor's, like bunch of papers, back to back. It was work. But I still had time to do fun stuff. So it wasn't too extensive. And I still could take time I still had extra time with tests. I didn't fail anything for my bachelor's. I didn't fail any classes. However, when I got my master's, writing and stuff is still challenging. I was using, either for my master's or my bachelor's, I was using Grammarly. And they was helping me with that website was helping me format my papers. If I was messing up writing, if I was messing up on like punctuation, like where I should be putting certain things. So I was still having issues in certain areas, but when I see something, I try to correct it so it's just fixed. But I would make certain mistakes. And to the point where my master's, I did fail a class in my master's. And this teacher was just so, master's, it was hard. I didn't have time to do the fun things and the creativity things and the other things I'm passionate about. I was strictly school. That's all I had time for because this work is hard, challenging. I'm like, bro, this is a lot. It took a lot of my energy. It was rough. But I went through it. Somebody from my bachelor's degree, the person I was dating, they was like, yeah, one of the professors, they didn't think I was going to be able to pass and make it to my master's degree. And I was like, so there was doubts in what I could do educational wise because of my learning disability. Because I struggled with writing and comprehension and understanding things. But I made it through. I just kept fighting. I was like, I wasn't going to... I've had hits to it, even when... I passed everything. There was this one class and she failed me. I was sick. I was so upset. I was so angry about that. But I wasn't going to let it stop me. I was like, nah, I'm going to keep going. And you do. And I did pass. Took the class again and I passed it. And I did. And this was same teacher, I think. I had to take the same teacher. And I was like, nah, I'm passing. I'm doing what I got to do. And I did what I had to do and I passed the class. It was hard. I really asked for help. Because at a certain point, for my... I think once I failed something in community college, I was like, yeah, I gotta start asking questions more. I gotta start asking for help more. So, for my college years, I was definitely asking for more assistance. Having my friends reread my stuff, look over my stuff. I was really doing anything I can to make sure I pass. And I wasn't having nobody look and do my work for me. I'm like, nah, I'm doing everything. Just look over, see if it look right. So I was really trying to do what I gotta do. Asking the teachers, like, does this look okay? Like, how's this giraffe? Like, is my giraffe right? What do I need to redo? Just so I can make sure I have it right. So I did everything possible to pass. I got my master's degree, but it wasn't done. I was not done yet, because for social work, to really make a living for yourself, you gotta pass your you gotta get a license test, and you guys pass your clinical test. So I was like, oh my god. So it's a bunch of stuff I have to memorize, and I feel like memory was bad for me. So when I hear, and this is, I'm going to go back to me as a kid with memory. It wasn't the greatest. I can remember long-term stuff, and I can remember things that are situational, that really was like not the same. It was something different that happened. It's something that stuck out. Those memories I can remember, but the day-to-day, everything is kind of the same. And my memory was bad as a kid. People was like, oh man, I remember things when I was 3, 2. Barely. It was like I woke up for the first time when I was 5 years old, when I went to kindergarten. I woke up for the first time at like 5. Like, boom, I comprehend. I'm here. Like spirits and body at 5 years old. I don't know what I was doing. 1 to 4. But when I turned 5, I was like, I woke up and I was in a room. I was like, who are they? And I was like, I don't know who they are, but I think I know. It feels like I know. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna do what we doing. Like, I came into focus, and it was my brother, it was my uncle. They were both there, and I think it was a weekend or something, and they were just gaming. And I was one of them. I was like, all right, well, I guess we gaming. I'm like, all right, we gamers. I was just chilling. I was like, oh, this is crazy. I'm here. But I don't know, maybe I just had so much bad memory. Maybe my memory was so bad, I could not remember. Like, I could not come into consciousness because I couldn't remember anything. But at 5, something was different. I could start remembering long-term things. I was like, oh, okay, these are my parents. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, this is cool. Like, imagine I'm coming into it at 5. I was like, oh, okay. Coming into consciousness. I was in the unconscious so long because maybe I couldn't remember anything, and I guess that's what affected my learning. Not so much maybe in elementary or middle school, memory wise, but with well, I guess so. Maybe I couldn't remember certain things. I learned better when I have to see it. I have to do it, and then I could do it. You can't just tell me. I did not learn. I was not an audio learner. I was visual. I had to see it, and I had to do it. So if I didn't see it and didn't do it, I'm like, what? Like, if I just read it, I was like, okay, but I gotta see it. You do it, and then let me do it, and then I got it. But memory was like, till this day, my memory's iffy. To this day. So it was hard. That's why I had to reread, because my memory was like, I gotta do different things when I learn, like, to help with my memory. Like, I had to play music. Sometimes it's like background music. Help me focus. Help me, something different. Like, okay, there's music in the background. Flashcards. Write it down and then read it. or reading things. And then sometimes I did do audio. Sometimes I did listen to it. I would do multiple things just to help me like remember it. Because my memory was like, oh, whew. It was a hassle. And then I had to get into testing, like, and then I'm going to take us back to like, yeah, testing was always hard for me. I would always get a bad grade on my tests growing up because I could not remember. Oh my God. Unless I was real good at the, like, math. I remember math was always easy. Like, if it wasn't like coming like that, but for the reading and writing stuff, whew, I was bad at taking a test. And it wasn't, I be thinking I know it. I'm like, I think I know it. I don't know it. I'm like, bro. And that's why I had to reread stuff a lot and just really study. That's like when I run into people and be like, yeah, I don't have to study. And I was like, wow, it must be nice. Because I don't remember, bruh. So I had to do these things. I had to work on it. Like, I had to go through the ringer. And it made me better. It made me on point. It made me studious. It made me really work to understand language and words and punctuation, how to put stuff. So it was a lot of trial and error to figure out what works best for me. And then sometimes I just try everything. So test was not easy at all. Tests and papers was hard. Tests and papers. One person be like, man, I'm good at papers or I'm bad at tests. No, I'm bad at both papers and tests. I'm bad at both. And I'm working to try to make it look good. Whew. It was work. And then with my license, oh my God, trying to just find time to just study for my license. It was hard. It was so hard trying to balance like a relationship and like studying, because they had to be understanding that I need to take this serious. And you know, sometimes they don't know that I had it that hard. Sometimes they don't know that, man, if I don't do this, I'm not going to pass. Like, I'm going to fail. And it sucks. It sucks to fail. It sucks to deal with that disappointment. And it sucks. And I guess that's why they said, like, there was a lot in the, you know, in the videos I was watching about dyslexia. Like, yeah, like, you know, some people, they didn't find out stuff till late. I was lucky enough to find out early. And some people, they didn't get help, you know. They didn't have that support. So I was lucky to get that support and stuff, but it was still hard. School was hard, but I was going to accomplish it. And I did. And I'm happy I did. It just would have been nice for people to support, you know, relationship wise like that. I feel like that affected some of my relationships, like people not understanding that I'm taking a lot of time for school or studying because I had to. I had to do certain things. I had to put things on the back burner and focus on this stuff. So that did, you know, but it ended up helping in some way of me just putting all my time into it because I was able to pass and stuff. You know, sometimes I didn't go out and do the fun stuff. Sometimes I didn't go out and do things because I needed to do school. You know, people could skip a bunch of classes and pass all their tests and papers. I can't. I need to make it at every single class. Even if I'm a little late, I still need to be there. And I had that option of not going to class. So when it came down to my license stuff and my memory stuff, it was like, I ended up failing one of my first social work tests, my license, and I was like, all right. Took that hit. It was a hard hit, and I'm like, man, I ain't gonna get there. And then I was like, nah, I just need to do the most. So I just did the most. I studied every single subject I needed to study for it. Used my phone. You know, there was like a bunch of practice tests. I took a bunch of like just testing, like doing practice tests, studying, doing practice tests, paying for the practice tests, studying. And I took the license again. And I passed it barely by a few points. But I'm just so happy I passed. I was like, oh my God, I passed. I made it. But I'm not done. I need to take my clinical. And I was like, you know what? I knew what I did for the first time. I'm going to do it again for this. And I passed my clinical test for my first time taking it. I was like, wow. I was like, oh, I'm so happy. I made it. I don't think I'm done with school. Like, and remind you, this is like, so from kindergarten till I passed my clinical test in 2023. So this is recent. This is recent that I'm done. So I was reading. I'm like, when I mean I've been reading my whole on point. I'm going into a career field that focus on me writing It's work. It was work. It was a lot. To memorize stuff. That was the most challenging thing. And my memory affects my relationships. Because sometimes I don't remember things. Just like we talked about connecting with people. Like, I talk to people. I'm an extrovert. Sometimes I talk to too many people. Sometimes I'm talking to one person and I'm like, dang, I don't remember what they said. Like, I had to write stuff down. I put stuff on my calendar. That's what I need to do. I was like, I've been doing better with I'm like, all right, if my memory faulty, I need to get it right. And sometimes it affects things. Sometimes I don't even know. I was like, what happened? I was like, oh, that's a thing. I was like, oh, word. I was like, oh, I missed that. I was like, oh my God, I missed something. Like, I missed something. They told me something and I forgot it. And I was like, because you don't want to have a whole booklet about somebody. Like, you can, but I don't know. So that affects dating with me, my memory, and me remembering stuff. And I was like, don't let it be something serious. It's hard. Don't let it be something that's important for me to remember. It's like, well, why don't you remember? I'm like, I try to work on it, but I also pile up a lot of stuff on my plate. So sometimes I forget stuff. I'm like, because if I pile up so much on my plate, I'm like, bro, I'm missing something. And it'd be like an agathon. I'm like, oh my God, I missed something. It's on my mind. And I was like, and I don't know what it is until it pops. And I was like, oh, I was supposed to do this. And I was like, oh. So yeah. That's that's living with dyslexia. So I think this will conclude this episode. Thank you for watching. We're going to go on to chapter 3. Chapter 3, we're going to be talking to people, helping them solve their problems. Maybe we'll do approach. Maybe we'll start doing more. I think we'll do more lives. So, work on, what's a good approach? Working on maybe doing some interviews. Working on maybe doing some collaborations. But I wanted to get out everything I wanted to get out educational wise and serious wise first before we dive into the other things. So it'll be good. It'll be fun. It's going to get interesting. So this is going to be a new journey, and yeah, I hope y'all enjoy the changes that's coming with the channel. Sorry, I've been a little late on some stuff. Just life has been flowing, but we're going to get to it, and it's going to be a good time. So this will conclude it for this episode. Definitely thanks for watching. We're done with chapter 2. We're on to chapter 3. And, I'm going to be, there's a content creator we're going to support. She support Ezzy. I think her name is Izzy or Ezzy. And I'm going to put her channel below. So she supports people who, supports Black people who wear their hair naturally and promotes those things and talks about the obstacles and challenges for people doing that. So definitely support her channel. I'll put that up. And yeah, support the people that did the music in my videos and my avatar, the person who created my avatar. And I'm a clinical social worker for the state of Maryland. So see, I can provide therapy. So I could do what I'm supposed to do. But if anybody's interested in receiving therapy, just, send me an email. So my email is also in the description as well. But alright. Y'all definitely have a good rest of the night, morning, or afternoon.